Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of the Confident Dollar podcast. Today, we are talking about contentment. Today's episode is about contentment and what it is, why it's important, and how it can help you reach your financial goals and save money. I think contentment is such an important thing to kind of wrap your mind around and think on because we live in a culture that is so not content and not helping you try to be content. It actually wants that opposite from you. And so, when you talk to people about money and you see spending habits and trouble with instant gratification culture and just all these things, a lot of it comes down to being content in your finances and content in your life with where you are. And it doesn't mean, it's one of those tricky things. It doesn't mean like you have to, you're content and so you want to stay there. You can still strive for things and move forward and have goals and aspirations that you're working towards. But what does it mean in your daily life to be content, and how can that affect how you spend money and how you save money? And so I just wanted to take this episode and address that and really dig into contentment a little bit and see if we can't learn how to have some more contentment in our lives, which is just so opposite and countercultural to just how we currently live. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it's helpful for you as you listen to it. And if you do like it, please share it with somebody who might also benefit from it. Share the love. That's helpful for the podcast. And if you could also subscribe, and if you feel so inclined to leave a 5-star review as well. All of those things are just simple ways that you can support the podcast and getting this out to others as we continue to teach and learn about finances and bring confidence to your financial life. So thank you for doing that if you have done those two things already. So let's get into it. So contentment, what is it and why is it so important for overall financial well-being and emotional well-being? So contentment is really just being at peace with where you are. So just feel that in your shoulders a little bit, just being at peace with where you are in your life right now. And again, this doesn't mean that you have to get too comfortable there. And that means that's where you're like, I'm staying here. Or it's not an excuse for laziness or apathy or just giving up and not striving towards things. But it's just having that peace of that's fine. Here's where I want to go. But I'm very at peace with where I am right now. And I mean, think about it. We all know someone who, it's always easier to think about somebody else than ourselves, but we all know someone who's just so not like this. And maybe you know very clearly this is so not you. But it's so easy to always be looking at you're so not content. We're not, I want to be married and I want to have kids, or I want my kids to be older, or we wish every stage of our life away to the next stage because we see other people there and we want to be there. We just can't, we have such a hard time as humans in our human condition just enjoying where we are in our life right now. And the idea of contentment is just really being at peace with where you are in your life right now. While also, because I am someone who's let's go, let's achieve that next goal. What are we doing next? While also moving forward and growing as a person, but in a different way, right? It's kind of in a different way when you're content and at peace with where you are right now as well. And there's really, I would say, kind of one big main barrier to contentment that we all struggle with. And that's going to be comparison. I'm sure heard the saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And that's 100% accurate. Think about your life in all, how you can even let good things get ruined by comparison of what other people are doing. You just went on a trip and, you went on this really nice trip. You were super excited to go on it, and you went on it. And then if you got back, you're scrolling social media and you see, well, someone else went on a better trip. So now it's like, now you're not even that happy that you just went on your trip because they got to go on this better trip, and I want to do that. I don't even want to do what I just did. I want to go on this other trip. This looks so much cooler. This looks so much better. So we're just comparing all the time. And in all that comparison, we are just living this life completely uncontent because it's constantly like, well, they have this car and they have this house and this and that and the other. And it just will go on forever. Because let me tell you, I don't have a giant house, but I do know that there will always be someone with a bigger house, or more money, or a better car, or there's always someone with more. There's always going to be someone that's farther along in their career, or they're building their business, or you name it. There's always going to be something that we can compare to that will stir up those feelings of discontentment. And the problem is in our culture is that we just face this so often and just all the time, with social media and just being so intertwined and in tune to other people's lives, but not knowing all the actual details. We only just see what's put out there. And so you create the narrative behind what's put out there, thinking that, okay, you see this house that's purchased by someone, who's your age. And you're like, okay, I talked to a lot of my clients. I live in Southern California, and so do a lot of my young clients as well. And it's, people like, how are we ever going to afford a house around here? This is insane. Prices have just gone up so much, and it's just so expensive. And then, you see someone your age who just purchased a home, right? And it's like, okay, well, how did they do that, right? And so you create the narrative behind that because you're comparing your story of what every detail to someone else's little tiny story that you don't know any of the details to, or just at least what they've put on social media, or maybe you kind of, they're kind of your friend, so they tell you some of the information, but you don't know all the details of their lives, and you're building this narrative around these comparisons, and in turn, you're just in this cycle of constant discontentment because you're constantly comparing yourself to others. This is so unhealthy financially, and this is so unhealthy emotionally because we're not designed to be like that. We're not designed to just have this constant state of comparison. It's not good for our souls. And the reality is that you are where you are for a reason. You live where you live for a reason. You are in the stage of life that you're in for a reason. And so the sooner you can recognize that, and you can be content in that, and you can be grateful in that, the sooner you'll just have so much more peace in your life. And that will lead to better financial decisions. And that's like the end goal, but obviously what's more important is the peace in your life. So comparison. It's just, it breeds discontentment. I don't know if, would love to hear an open conversation with some of you as you're thinking through this. What other things do you feel like in your life lead to discontentment? So that opposite. So not a piece of where you are, but actually just that unsettling feeling of where you are. And maybe you don't see comparison as the main one. But if I look at my life, or I look at how I operate, I definitely see that having that comparison is the main thing that leads to that thief of taking that contentment away. That comparison is really the thief of joy. So how can you get contentment? How is that something that you can achieve? It's not something you're just going to stumble into. I will tell you that for sure. Contentment is something you're going to have to actively choose on a daily basis, every single day. It will not be and eventually it's like a muscle. I do think you can get better at it as you practice it, as you exercise that muscle daily. But it's not a natural inclination for us. as humans. I would say one. So the biggest, one of the factors in leading to contentment is going to be gratitude, being grateful. A lot of people do this in a multitude of ways of spending time journaling or just writing out a list of things you're thankful for. But practicing gratitude will definitely help bring contentment into your life. So even if let's say you have a really dire financial picture right now, and so you're like, what do I have to be content with? I'm in this much debt, like up to my eyeballs, and it just causes so much stress and anxiety for my family. I don't have a job. You're sick maybe and have health issues that are leading to multiple financial issues, and you just don't feel like there's anything to be content around or really even grateful for. And that's hard. I mean, so this is not diminishing how hard life may be for you, financially or health-wise. I don't know. Obviously, everybody has a different story, and you're listening to this in a different place than I am. And so I'm sorry if that's where you're at, and I pray that that's not where any of my listeners are at, but I do know that this is a big world, and the likelihood is that someone's in a very tough spot. So, what is there to be grateful for? And I don't mean this in a way that's going to diminish anything that's hard in your life that you're going through right now. But I do think that you will find that there is still a lot to be grateful for, even in those hard seasons. And sometimes those hard seasons actually are able to help calibrate us in a better way that easier seasons can. And so I know for hard seasons that I've been through in my life, that you do actually end up finding so much to be grateful for that is right there, but the hard's kind of overshadowing it. And so I would just encourage anybody with where you're at right now is to just make a list of things that you're grateful for. Things that you are thankful that you have in your life, and do them amongst different categories. So if you're really struggling in wanting to be in a different life phase than you are right now, I would think through what you're grateful for in the life phase that you are currently in. And again, that can be hard because you want to be in the next one. Maybe you're really trying to get pregnant and you really want to be a mom, but you're struggling in getting pregnant. And so what can you be grateful for in a season of not being where you want to be? When it comes to having kids, but what can you be grateful for right now as you're still preparing your heart for that hopefully next season that's around the corner? So spend some time being grateful and writing down that list of things that you're thankful for. And two, I would say, is humility. They say humility is not thinking less of yourself; it's thinking of yourself less. When we are in a constant state of comparison, all we're doing is thinking of ourselves. We're just consumed with ourselves. We're consumed with ourselves and how it compares to others around us. And that, again, is not a healthy place to be for a human when you're consumed with yourself. We're not, again, designed for that either. And so I really do think that having humility and thinking of yourself less and spending more time thinking of others will help practice you building this contentment muscle. So if you're struggling in this area, something that's tangible that you could do is find a way to serve someone else, find a way to serve others, to put yourself aside, to go in serving somebody else that is in a more difficult position than you. And when we do that, it has a funny way of helping us realize we do have a lot to be thankful for. So if you're having trouble writing that list of things to be thankful for, serving somebody else or putting yourself in a position to do something for somebody else rather than focus on yourselves, a lot of times can help build that gratitude through doing that. So again, you can't just stay in this self-consumerism world of just only ever focus on yourself. You're not going to build contentment that way. You're only going to dig yourself in a further financial difficult situation because you're doing it because of comparing to others all the time and not coming from that place of contentment and gratitude of where you currently are, how much money you currently have, what's been entrusted to you right now. So you can, a couple tangible ways to build contentment in your life, to work on building contentment, practice that muscle. But why can contentment affect your finances? I think it goes without saying pretty obviously, but let's just discuss that, right? How does this have an effect on your finances? Content people are a lot more likely to save money. They're a lot more likely to put money towards their future rather than spend for now because they're more at peace with where they are right now. So they're okay. They're willing to sacrifice in the short term for the long term. They just have a better mindset. They're just coming from a different place mentally to be able to make wiser financial decisions and be like, okay, we can set this aside for now. We don't have to buy that right now because I'd rather put this in, make sure I'm saving my 15% for retirement, or I'd rather live, really below our means right now so we can get out of debt because that's more important. They're just able to function and make decisions in a way that's not based off of that instant gratification and need for, keeping up with the Joneses. It's from a wiser place because they are in a more, a better foundation spot for their finances. They'll sacrifice more of their lifestyle currently to get out of debt. They're just able to make those decisions easier, forego the vacation or shopping on this and buying that extra because they do have their mind right and their goals set for their future and they're willing to get to them. And then 3, they just live their lives with more of their hands open rather than a closed fist. And that can have a really big impact, again, not just financially, but also for your emotional well-being as well. And so that goes back to that being focused on yourself if you're constantly comparing versus being focused on others around you and looking for opportunities to give, to serve, and to help people around you rather than just being so focused inwardly. So those are some practical ways that you can kind of work towards that contentment and build that in your life and get yourself on that just wiser, more foundationally secure playing field in order to make better decisions for your finances. So it's just less chaotic. It's less like on the hamster wheel. It's getting yourself off that hamster wheel. It's being more at peace. It's being slower to make decisions and taking deeper breaths, and just the view in which you're making your decisions out of is such a different place versus if you cannot get yourself into this place of being content and grateful for where you are in your life. So I hope those are helpful. Try them out and see if you can help shake that up in your own life and see any differences in how you spend your money and how you budget and how you're just saving for your long-term financial goals. So thanks for joining on this episode. Always love to have these conversations and continue learning more about both money mindset and investing and all the things that we address on this podcast. So stay tuned for that next episode. And again, share this with a friend who you think would find helpful, and go in and subscribe or leave a review. Those are all ways you can help continue to spread the love. Hope you guys have a great day.